Chairman of the Oversight and Government Reform Committee, Mr. Gowdy, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman Goodlatte. Director Wray, somewhere today, a group of our fellow citizens will be asked if they can be fair, impartial, free of bias before they sit in judgment of others on a jury. Even in the smallest of courtrooms where there are nothing but empty seats and no television cameras. Somewhere today, those selected to sit in judgment of their fellow citizens will be told that they must wait until the very last witness testifies and the last piece of evidence has been introduced before they can even begin to deliberate on an outcome. So if our fellow citizens should be impartial and free of bias, and if our fellow citizens must wait until the last piece of evidence is introduced, the last witness is called, before they can reach a verdict, a conclusion, an outcome, then I don't think it's asking too much that the Department of Justice and the FBI do the same thing. There is no member of Congress who holds the department and the Bureau in higher esteem than I do. There are others who hold you in high esteem, but I would take second place to no one. And I have defended the department and the Bureau when, frankly, it was pretty damn lonely to do so. When my Democrat friends were asking that Jim Comey be prosecuted for a Hatch Act violation about this time last year, they now want him canonized. But this time last year, they wanted him prosecuted for a Hatch Act violation. When your predecessor sat right where you're sitting and was embroiled in a fight with this little tiny startup company called Apple, I was on the side of the Bureau. When there are calls for special counsel, even today, I reject them because I trust the women and men of the Department of Justice and the Bureau, the professionals that we hired, to do their job. And the vast majority of line prosecutors and line agents are exactly what you described in your opening statement. They are exactly what you described. But unfortunately, the last 2 years have not been good years for the Bureau, and they have not been good years for the department. We had an attorney general meet with the spouse of a target of an investigation on the tarmac, and asked that an investigation be called something other than an investigation, but be called a matter. We've had an attorney general recuse himself from the largest, most significant investigation currently in his office. We had the director of the FBI appropriate a major charging decision away from the Department of Justice because he was concerned that the public wouldn't have confidence if the Department of Justice handled that decision themselves. We had an FBI director write 2 politically volatile letters weeks before an election. We had an FBI director memorialize conversations he had with the President of the United States because he didn't trust the President's recall of those conversations. And I think what frustrates some folks is when Director Comey wanted special counsel for President Trump, he leaked one of those memos. When he didn't have confidence in Loretta Lynch, we didn't hear a word about it. There were no leaks that prompted special counsel when he didn't trust Loretta Lynch. There were leaks when he decided he didn't trust President Trump. We've had an acting AG fired. We've had the director of the FBI fired. And we can't manage to find prosecutors who haven't donated to presidential candidates. Out of all the universe of prosecutors that you used to work with, and I used to work with, and Johnny Ratcliffe used to work with, we can't find a dozen that haven't donated to major political candidates. And now we have Special Agent Strzok. It was the Inspector General, not the Department of Justice, not the Bureau who found these texts. It was the Inspector General. And I share your confidence in his objectivity. I share it. But it shouldn't have been the Inspector General that had to bring this to our attention 12 months after it happened. And that same agent is the one who reportedly interviewed Secretary Clinton in an interview that you and I have never seen conducted that way before. to have potential witnesses and potential targets sit in on a witness interview. I appreciate your professionalism and your unwillingness to want to say how unprecedented that is, so I'm not going to ask you. I'll just tell you, it's unprecedented. And that same agent is alleged to have been the one that changed the language. You're right, they are synonyms. Extremely careless is a synonym for grossly negligent, which begs the question, why change it? But you and I know why it was changed. It was changed because the statute says grossly negligent. And if you're not going to charge someone, God knows you don't want to track the statute with the language that you use. That would be stupid. What's also stupid is to do that memo 2 months before you've interviewed the target. That memo was drafted before the last witness was interviewed. Director, it was drafted before the target of the investigation was even interviewed. Which makes people wonder, was the decision made before the interviews were finished? And now we believe that that same agent is also involved in the investigation into President Trump and his campaign, and may have interviewed Michael Flynn. That hasn't been confirmed, and we don't know what role, if any, he took in the preparation of documents for court filing. So I'm going to say this because I'm out of time, and I appreciate the chairman's patience with me. You have a really important job. When all else fails in this country, we want to be able to look to the FBI. We want to be able to look to the Department of Justice. When all the other institutions we trust, including Congress, appear to be broken, we want to be able to look to you. It's been a really bad 2 years. I am counting on you to help answer our questions in Congress, our fellow citizens' questions, but I am more than anything counting on you to go back to work for that blindfolded woman holding a set of scales that really doesn't give a whit about politics. That's the FBI that I want.
Time, gentleman, has expired.
Chairman,
the director is
Mr. Chairman,
welcome to respond.
Just a 30-second response. First, let me say, Congressman Gowdy, I'm well aware of your longstanding support for the Bureau and the Department, and I want you to know we appreciate it. And second, I want to assure you and every other member of this committee that there is no scenario under which I would have taken the President's nomination if I were not committed to the kind of independent, impartial, objective, and professional pursuit of the facts. I wouldn't be here if I weren't committed to that, and I can give this committee that commitment.
Jim Jordan, you had a busy day today.
We did.
Thanks for staying up late with us.
Good to be with you.
Okay, so do you think you will get the answer from the FBI about whether the dirty dossier was used as the means to get a warrant to then track the Trump administration?
I'm convinced it was used. They can prove me wrong. They can present the application. Nothing preventing them from doing so. We're the Judiciary Committee. We have jurisdiction over the Justice Department. Show us what you took, not what the court has, what you took to the court that became the basis for securing warrants to spy on Americans associated with the Trump campaign. So show us the document, show us the application.
I know that you've had numerous requests the committee has in for all kinds of answers and documents. Where are they? Are you getting those?
Some, and thank goodness that the Speaker and Devin Nunes and the Intel Committee and Chairman Goodlatte were all pushing. But we need that information because each day, we just heard about Mr. Orr, we know about Peter Strzok, who we talked about in committee today. Each and every day, something new comes out which reinforces this belief that you had the FBI working with the Clinton campaign to go after the other party's nominee. That is not supposed to happen in this great country. It is not supposed to work that way. You had this dossier, which was, Clinton campaign paying Fusion GPS, paying Christopher Steele, paying Russians for a bunch of baloney that they turned into an intelligence document, take it to the court to get a warrant to spy on Americans? Really? And potentially Christopher Steele was also, it's been reported, paid by the FBI, the MI6 agent who collected the information. So all this goes on, and Peter Strzok gets dismissed from the Mueller team, the guy who ran the Clinton investigation, ran the Russian investigation. It all starts to just point to this idea that the government was working with one major political party to go after the other party's nominee, and that is not fair to Mr. Trump. President Trump, that's not fair to, it's just not how it's supposed to work.
Do you think that you will get an opportunity to question Mr. Strzok? And if so, what's your first question?
I hope so. I hope so. Did you do it? My guess is his fingerprints are all over this application. He was the deputy head of counterintelligence at the FBI. I mean, he's probably one of the key guys involved in all all the FISA applications that go to the FISA court. So I want to question him. We got Mr. Rosenstein coming next week. I think that's important. So there are lots of questions, but give us the documents. Prove us wrong. I don't think we're wrong.
One of your colleagues across the aisle today says these attacks and these accusations about the FBI are politically motivated. This is Congressman Jerry Nadler.
I predict that these attacks on the FBI will grow louder and more brazen as the special counsel does his work and the walls close in around the president and evidence of his obstruction and other misdeeds becomes more apparent.
Is that what these tough questions for the FBI
No,
are
but
about?
they are going to grow louder because, think of Peter Strzok, the head of counterintelligence at the FBI, the guy who ran the Clinton investigation, interviewed Huma Abedin, interviewed Cheryl Mills, interviewed Secretary Clinton. He's the guy who changed the exoneration letter from Director Comey from gross negligence, which is a crime, to extreme carelessness. He made that change. He's the guy who interviewed Mike Flynn. He ran the Russian investigations, gets picked by Bob Mueller to go on his team, and then gets kicked off for a few text messages? Come on.
You think there's much more to that?
It has to be more. If you kicked everyone off who was anti-Trump text messages on the Mueller camp, there wouldn't be anyone left on the Mueller team.
Well,
so it has to be more.
Do you think it's a fair team, though? Do you think, well, and I want to put up a poll here that's a new one from CBS, asking people whether they think that this is a justified investigation or politically motivated. There's now a higher number of people who think this is politically motivated. 48% say that they think that that is actually what this Russia investigation is about.
Yeah, doesn't surprise me, because people with common sense can look at all that's unfolded, all that we have learned in the last several weeks with Mr. Orr, with Mr. Strzok, with what we learned about the dossier and the fact that the Clinton campaign, the DNC paid for it, all this that we've learned, and they say, wait a minute, I thought we were supposed to be investigating possible coordination between the Trump campaign and Russians to influence the election.
Have you seen any?
No, I haven't seen a bit, but we do know that the Clinton campaign paid Russians to do what? Influence the election. And so Americans are sharp people, common sense, and they're saying, wait a minute, this doesn't add up. And each and every day we get more information which confirms something's wrong here, something smells bad here. Let's get the answers. And the best way to get the answers is for the FBI to give us that application and we can know.
Let me ask you, because of all the scandals and things that have unfolded today, we were expecting the resignation of Senator Franken today. Were you surprised by the resignation of your colleague, Congressman Franks?
Yeah, we were. Trent's a good man and
We've
did
had
not
him
know
here many
about
times.
this. Yeah, and did not know about this, and I have not even seen his statement. He told us on the House floor, a few of us tonight, that there would be a statement. And we were busy this evening with the dinner we had to attend, so I'll take a look at his statement and talk more with Trent next week.
I know there's a lot of concern for folks all over the Hill with multiple cases out there bubbling up. So thank you for making time for us tonight on a long day.
Thank you, Sharon.
Good to see you.
Congratulations on the show and everything.
Thank you very much. Come back anytime.